G321 evaluation. Question 5. How did you attract and address your audience? And with the characters, females we use to attract other young female girls to watch this, as they'll be able to relate to the characters. For example, Sophie, mainly, as she's the main character in this, and they'll be able to relate, which is very important in attracting our demographic of mainly females 15 to 24. And this will also attract males to watch on screen, as it's aiming at their ages and my demographic again, so it would be appealing to males as well as females, but mainly females. Eva's an 18-year-old girl, so the audience can relate to these, especially young female girls, as they're going through the same point in life as Sophie, and the issues, they'll understand the issues that she's going through and the main trends that a female young girl goes through. With the costume, modern day clothing is used, so that our demographic can identify the clothing being worn by females, which will attract other females to watch this. Noir clothing is also used, such as suits and trilby hats, which will attract my secondary demographic of 45 plus, so they can identify the noir in this thriller, and it will appeal to their tastes as well as appealing to the younger audience's taste as well. The necklace is quite expensive and has middle class values, and is used in the ending of the cliffhanger when Sophie drops the necklace. It will attract other females to watch this, as they can see the sort of styles and the clothing and the types of costume that are used on Sophie, and will attract other girls to watch it, because if they can see the same sort of styles that they have, then they will be able to mirror Sophie and have the same items and accessories that she has. If they see the same trends and fashions as them, then they'll be more inclined to watch this, as they'll be able to see what they're like and see what it's like for a young female going through her life. This will attract audiences to watch the films. They'll be able to relate to the characters, because in my thriller Cold Case, the main character Sophie, she wears casual clothes, but they're in style. So it's more likely to attract the younger generations who like fashion, who are into fashion. So mainly females in this case, but also males as well. They can be into fashion as well. But from wearing it as a point of view as female, they'll be more inclined to watch this. It can be working class girls and middle class girls. It's all casual clothing, so it will attract both social classes there. The lighting used is noir lighting in the flashbacks. This is able to establish the noir in this thriller from the use of the flashbacks and the dark in the black and white lighting. This will be able to attract our older audiences and our noir fans. Ambient lighting is also used, and it fades as we go along in the modern day. It recognises the darkening scenes, and so thriller fans and many other audiences will be able to identify that the darkening of this builds up the tension to the cliffhanger and the suspense, as you know that darkening scenes are coming, which suggest danger and frightening outcomes for the main protagonist of Sophie, as you can see her getting more nervous. The soundtrack, it's quite a modern soundtrack we have used. It's most suitable for increasing tensions. It has a very spooky vibe to it. It's quite a frightening piece. For example, the puddle shot, the music increases and becomes a lot more powerful. It links in well with the shot, as it shows the presence of Henry Lime, which identifies the generic conventions of a male being dominant, which will attract audiences of thriller fans, and also the older audiences again, as well as the younger audiences, as the younger characters are being used. It starts fairly slow in the beginning, in that when Sophie is in the library researching this case, and it starts to build up. It starts to build up slowly, and when it gets to the cliffhanger, it becomes much more powerful and frightening. Which also shows the suspense and it shows that it's like petrifying, which links into a thriller, which will attract audiences. There was also, in The Third Man, the Harry Lime theme tune was used. It isn't a very scary piece, it's more of a light-hearted piece, which shows his good side. So it's different to what we used, but if we compare it to The Third Man, then we'll be able to see that what is used in The Third Man is links to what we have used in our thriller film, but the soundtracks are different, which shows that it can be frightening or more light-hearted, but it still makes a very good thriller film. Also, the camera shots used are also very important in attracting our audience. There are lots of tilts used, which are generic conventions of thrillers. For example, one of Henry, A Minute In, it shows his mystery and his hidden identity. These are generic of thrillers, which will attract thriller fans to see it, and it reinforces the generic conventions. For example, in The Third Man, when Holly was disorientated and he was walking and he saw a figure in a doorway, there was a tilt shot used to see the figure of Harry Lime, which is a reference from Mars thriller to The Third Man. Close-ups are always used to show emotions. Over the shoulder shots of Henry, Henry and the copycat killer were used to show Sophie's frightened emotions, which is scary because you feel how frightened Sophie really is, which influences the audience's feelings. And females, young female audience especially, they can be very emotional, and if they can take their emotions into this film, then they'll be more inclined to see it, as it can feel touch their emotions. Ethnicity is also used. It's white British cast. Only white British characters have been used in this, which, for example, it is also used in the Skins opening. Only white British actors are used, but it also appeals to ethnic groups as well, because they are used to watching these sorts of films in Britain, or if they aren't, they can gain an understanding of what it's like to live in a white British lifestyle. Explicit intertextual references are incredibly important in attracting our audiences, and as I mentioned above in the camera shots, the scene of The Third Man when Holly was walking about and is very disorientated and confused in a country that he's never been to, and it's an enigma to him, in Vienna. He comes across a dark doorway and there's a figure of a person. We're not too sure who it is at the start, but a tilt shot is used and you can identify Harry Lime, who is wearing a suit and a trilby hat on a tilt, and it is used a minute in to Cold Case of Henry Lime, which the same shot is basically used, and it is an explicit intertextual reference. If audiences can relate these two together, then they will be very intelligent, which will make them excited and very happy that they are able to identify this, and it'll make them want to watch the rest of the film, because if they can find other intertextual references, it'll make them intrigued by what we have done. It also suggests that they have seen Third Man, and that they have watched it and they have enjoyed it, because if they remember that shot, then they will be able to relate this, and it's very important because it just shows more references, and if they like The Third Man, then they're going to like our thriller as well, which will attract audiences. Narrative structure. There was a clear beginning with Sophie searching through a case which introduces each character, of Sophie researching the case, and also Eve Walcott, the murder victim, on screen. On the computer she's researching, and also Henry Lime. He has been identified in the big still images on the computer. There are use of flashbacks, which clearly use fade to blacks to go to and from them. This shows what from modern to the noir, so demographics know what is what, and it isn't confusing for them. But then they can identify each character because they're quite Eve and Sophie are very similar characters and look alike. Dissolves also we used to add mystery and tension and suspense, which are generic conventions which attract audiences, and it adds to the enigma, which also adds to the tension and suspense as well, which are key in keeping the audience satisfied and involved. With the cliffhanger, it is the most important part of a thriller, and it is very important in attracting other audiences as well. The cliffhanger makes you want to watch the rest of the film because it ends with a feeling that she gets murdered, but it isn't shown. It only shows that she drops her necklace, which just adds to the suspense of the opening. And the audience will obviously want to know what happened, so they'll want to keep watching. It's a tiny bit confusing at the end, which relates to Sophie's mind going all over the place, and the audience will want to watch the rest of the film, and because they want to see the plot unfold, and so they can find out more and see what happens at the end, and that will make sense to them. It leaves questions unanswered, which is important in keeping the audience thinking about it, and if they can keep thinking about it, then it shows they're taking a liking to this thriller opening. And it also suggests that they're intrigued by this, which is very important in attracting them. It makes you want to watch all of it, so everything can be clearer and unveiled, and it makes everything add up, and it can see if the audience guessed what they believe to be happening correctly, and if everything worked out as they wanted, or if it didn't, then they can have a good debate on it, and it will attract them to watch it again and influence word of mouth by getting other people to watch it as well.